evening, folks, and welcome to the Loper and Infrey Show. We're here today in Paris, France, and joining with me are three women who have faced adversity, who have suffered but proved themselves to be strong, courageous women. Throughout history, women have fought and proven themselves a strong, independent kind, with a maternal instinct that knows no bounds. Today I have the pleasure of talking with three women who have proven that in times of trouble and despair, women's true strength surpasses any other feelings. Please help me to welcome our first guest, Rikwa Starzinski. Rikwa, how are you doing?
Well, Lopra, it's been rough, I'll tell you that.
I can't even imagine. How about we give these folks a little bit of background here? Tell us about yourself.
Well, my name is Rikwa Starzinski. I had a wonderful family, but have lost them during the atrocities of the Valdiv Roundup. I had a beautiful daughter, Sarah, and two handsome men, my son Michael and my husband Wells.
Sorry for your loss. For all of you out there unaware of the Valdiv Roundup, it happened on July 16, 1942. Early that morning, 4,500 French policemen set out on German orders as they began arresting Jewish living in Paris. Over 11,000 Jewish were arrested and stuffed into the Velodrome d'Hiver and lived in unsanitary conditions until they were deported to detention camps. Few survived. Rikwa, could you explain what happened to you on that horrific day when you were separated from your daughter?
It will be hard, but of course. The French policemen had already inflicted so much pain on us. They hated us. They didn't care. As we were forced to hand over all of our valuables, my daughter and I watched as a policeman ripped the earrings through the lobes of a little girl. We watched as she screamed in pain and blood dripped down her neck. But that was not the worst part. First, we were separated from our husbands, but then our children. I had watched as policemen brutally bludgeoned women for fighting back, but as soon as they took my dear Sarah, I didn't think about the consequences. I fought for her. I fought like a mad creature. I even managed to overpower the policeman for a couple of seconds. My daughter saw the strong, passionate woman she had missed and admired.
Oh my. It pains me to listen to such horror and to know that no one ever did anything. What happened after?
It's okay, Lopra, but the worst needs to know. Oh, fuck. The worst! It's okay, Lopra, but the world needs to know. As I and the rest of the women were waiting to board the bus that would take us to the next location, Sarah and my eyes connected. We were too far away to speak, but I looked back at my daughter with a tiny, brave smile. I wanted to tell her, "We'll be all right." The policeman said so. "Don't you worry, my sweet." And I think she understood, because she smiled back at me. I had to be strong for my own daughter. I couldn't let her see my fear. I had to stay composed.
Thank you so much, Rikwa, for sharing your tragic past. No one should have to suffer like that, yet so many did. It takes strength and courage to fight like you did. Let's have a warm thank you for Rikwa Starzinski, everyone. Our next woman of power is Julia Jarman.
Thank you, Rikwa. Thank you.
And welcome, Julia. Julia, welcome.
Thank you, Lopra. I'm so glad to be here.
So tell me, that's no French accent. That's an all-American accent. How'd you end up here?
Well, Lopra, you see, I'm a journalist, but came over to France to work. I fell in love with the country and in love with my husband, Bertrand.
Well, that's such a beautiful story to hear, especially after hearing poor Rikwa. But Julia, backstage, you were talking to me about your husband. You fell in love with him on the dance floor, but you two are no more? What happened there?
Well, to start, my in-laws were a very judgmental bunch, few of which were rather unfounded of me in my decisions. My husband and I had tried for many years after having my daughter Zoe to have another child, but to no prevail. Bertrand was very hurt by this, but we didn't talk about it. It was a harsh reality we had to live with. However, years later, to my excitement, I learned that I had just become pregnant. Sure that Bertrand would be just as excited as I rushed to tell him of the good news. But that was not the fact. Bertrand had told me he could not live with himself if he had to raise another child. He felt too old. He told me that if I had not to abort this baby, he would divorce me. Many people had influenced me. As a result, I had chosen to abort the baby. As I sat there alone in the hospital room, doctors waiting in the operating room, and my husband threatening to divorce me, I decided to stand up for myself and what I believed in. This was my baby too, and I wanted to keep it. I had already loved it so much. Needless to say, many of my in-laws were not happy with my decision, and that was the end of Bertrand and I. I just couldn't bring myself to abort my own child.
That is truly beautiful. I admire the strength you had to stand up for what you believe. That is the true quality of a courageous woman. We could all learn from you. Thank you so much, Julia, for sharing your story. Our next guest and final guest on the show today is just a little girl, but a little girl with a big heart. Please welcome Sarah Starzinski after the commercials. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Sarah. Thank you so much for coming here today. I understand how hard this is going to be for you. Tell us what happened that day, the day you decided to escape.
Separated from my whole family, my mother, my father, and my brother. I missed them so much I felt ill. I felt as if I'd fallen into a bottomless hole. Escaping was the only way for me to have some sort of grip on my life, on this new life I couldn't understand. I had lived nothing but a life of fear. Children around me were dying, crying for their parents. I had to take care of them. I became their mom. I had grown up from just a young 10-year-old girl into a 40-year-old woman in just one night. One night I met a girl named Rachel, and together we decided we had to get out. We had to escape, but it was our little secret. The next day we went for it, and we made it out alive. We ran as fast as we could, as far as we could. We didn't look back. Just thinking about what would have happened to us if we were caught terrifies me to this day.
Incredible. Just incredible. Sarah, for such a young girl, you truly are a brave one. You lived through so much, more than most of the people in this audience. You took over and protected the younger children around you, and somewhere within you, you found the strength to continue on and escape. I truly admire your valor. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much, and thank you to my wonderful audience. Wow. All three women we had on our show today have truly showed their strength and courage. These women are an inspiration to us all. I'm Loper Winfrey. Thank you, and good night. And we're back with our next guest, Sarah Starzinski. Please welcome.